Baby, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, okay? The folks is mad at Beyonce, okay? Is Candy an undercover MAGA lover? And baby, where the hell Spirit going? Lord have mercy. I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds, okay, to get y'all something to eat, get yourself a little snack so we can go ahead and dive on into this show. And welcome back, y'all. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Papa G Show. I know I've been away from you for some time now. I know, okay? But listen, I'm back. We back. And we got some stuff we got to talk about, all right? And look, I don't know why I've been saying this here lately, but I usually like to come in here and give y'all some hee-hees, some ha-has. But sometimes we're gonna have some dense shows, and tonight is one of those shows. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about, and again, if you are liking what you hear, engage with the content. Okay, I don't want to be the only one talking to myself. Okay, I want to hear from you as well. So please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Okay, share and follow me on all the socials. Okay, follow me on all of the socials, baby, because sometimes I don't like to do these long form videos, and I give y'all some hee-hees and the ha-has in the shorts that I like to do. All right, listen, y'all, we're gonna start with the business. We're gonna flow our way down to pop culture, and then we're gonna end with celebrity news. All right. That's how this show. I'm gonna give y'all the layout. So the beginning of this show is gonna be strictly business. Okay. Y'all ready? Let's get into it. Listen, y'all. Let me go ahead and share my screen, child, baby. Okay, we can do it. Look, baby, Spirit is about to be no more, child. Lord have mercy. Where is Spirit going? Spirit Airlines issues a going concern warning. Now, for those of you who don't know, okay, like I told y'all before, okay, I did some time at that Baylor University and I got myself an accounting degree and turned around and got myself an MBA. Praise the Lord. So I took a few accounting courses, a few strategy courses to say the least. So if you don't know what this going concern warning is, what that basically means is, hey, we are unsure that if we're going to be a business in the foreseeable future. And companies have to disclose this if there are significant financial struggles. So it's again, it's not like the board is just sitting up there just being so, forthcoming. No, by law, they have to do this. But I really want to take this time and kind of dive into the business aspect of this. And I want to talk about, excuse me, I really want to talk about Spirit in the broader sense of the aviation industry. For those of you who don't know, I did a stint at a major airline. I ain't gonna say which major airlines it was, but I did a stint at a major airline, and I will say that was probably one of the funnest and most challenging jobs I ever had. And so we're gonna talk about how Spirit plays into like I said, to the whole broader aviation industry. But in this going concern letter that they put in their quarterly filings, what Spirit basically said is that if we do not right our ship, we may be out of business 6 to 12 months. They actually said 12 months in the filing. And by the way, guys, a little sidebar here, all this information that I'm giving you, it's all public knowledge. Okay. Now, if you just feel so inclined like me, okay, because I enjoy reading financial statements and dissecting numbers and understanding how the strategy flows into the overall financials. That's just me though. But you can get all this information at the sec.gov website. Okay. Okay. I know I got my little bar down there that says all commentary is alleged, but baby, this is the truth. Okay. These are facts. Okay. As me and my homeboy should say back at home, these are facts, no copy, baby. Okay. And so, really and truly, if everybody knows what Spirit is, if you want a cheap flight, that is the airline or the type of airline that you go to. And Spirit really, they're able to offer those cheap flights because one, they make you pay for everything else. And two, they really just give you a means of transportation from point A to point B, right? And so now Spirit and other low-cost carriers as well, such as Frontier, Allegiant, like these airlines they give you cheap flights, but they are notorious for having bad on-time arrivals. And that is a big deal in the airline industry. And it's a lot of factors that can go into why you have a piss poor on-time arrival. Are you getting the bags on the plane at the right time? Or are the customers getting on and off the plane in an efficient manner, right? Did you run into some weather, right? Like is the plane in good standing? Like, did you have to make an emergency repair on a plane? Like, there's so many things that can go into the on-time arrival, and airlines really do look at that, and they really try to be the best in class, right? But with these ultra low cost carriers, like I said, they're no frills. They're really just getting you from point A to point B. And now the question is there a space for that? Now, some people will say that Southwest, would be in this low cost carrier category. And I would say in the beginning, yes, not so much now. Given the recent changes that Southwest is doing, I would not put them in the low cost carrier. I would kind of put them in a hybrid. Like, they're not a legacy carrier like your American, Delta, United, but they're also not the bottom of the barrel, which is Spirit, Frontier, and Allegiant. They're kind of like that comfortable middle. And so in my notes down here, I asked, are low cost carriers really worth it? And I would say yes to a point. I think what these ultra low cost carriers, like your Spirit, Frontier, and Allegiant, I think what they get wrong is that they really do take out all the frills. They charge you for bags, they charge you for Wi-Fi, they charge you, for, it's like they nickel and dime you. They get you in with this cheap fare, but if you want a comfortable flight experience, you're going to have to pay more. And then once you pay more, you might as well just fly Southwest. Now, the CEO of of Spirit basically said, hey, we had to issue this statement because our accounting firm told us to. And again, just to give you a little background story on that, listen, back in the early 2000s, there were major companies doing some funny things with they books, okay? And then Congress came in and basically made companies and accounting firms tighten their grip and be more forthcoming when they're giving financial information to the public, right? And so again, like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, it's not like they gave this warning because they wanted to. They gave it because they had to. And because what business wants to tell potential investors, hey, we need your money, but you may not get a return. Who wants to say that? Who really wants to say that? Nobody. But I'm going to tell you what the problem with Spirit is, and then we're going to move on to the next topic here. The problem with Spirit and these other ultra low cost is they have a perception problem. When you think of Spirit Airlines, you really do think of the Dollar General of the airline industry. And it doesn't help that their colors do resemble the Dollar General, like yellow and black. And no tea, no shade to the Dollar General, no tea, no shade to them. But if you think about where your Dollar Generals are located, they're located in rural and urban areas. You're not going to go to a very high acidity place or an area in town and find a Dollar General. That's not their clientele. And quite frankly, Spirit's clientele are the ones who get hit the hardest when there's an economic downturn, right? Because one thing about the airline industry as a whole, it doesn't matter if you're Spirit or Delta, this industry is ran on discretionary income. It's ran on people having a little extra money, so we're going to take a family trip to this, that, and the third. And Spirit customers are very price conscious. So they're going to be the ones that's going to book either really, really early, or they're going to book when there's a sale going on. And unfortunately, when there is an economic downturn, and I'm not saying, I mean, from a statistical standpoint and from a textbook standpoint, the economy is actually okay. From a textbook standpoint, the economy is okay, but the problem is nobody feels like it's okay. And people who, again, fly Spirit, they're the ones who are going to be affected the most, right? They're the ones who are going to be affected the most. Because again, if your groceries cost more than what they did last year, or your utility bills cost more than what they did last year, and you only got a finite amount of money to begin with, then again, there goes your discretionary income. There goes Spirit's. Here comes Spirit's problem. So I would say that Spirit has a perception problem. There's nothing wrong with tailoring or what's the word I'm looking for? There's not a problem for you tailoring your experience to those types of customers. It's really not. My problem or my issue with that thinking or that business model is when there is a true economic downturn, where are you going to get your money from? Because the people who can't afford the extra leg room, the people who can afford first class, the people who can afford premium economy, the people who can afford, all the frills that Spirit takes away, they're not going to fly them anyway. They're going to go to Southwest. They're going to go to American. They're going to go to Delta. And so there's really a perception problem and a cash flow problem with Spirit Airlines. I was asked what would I do if I was CEO or if I was on the board. The first thing that I would honestly do is I would task, and this is me on the board, I would task the CEO and the CFO, the executive team, I need every profitable route. First, I need every route that we fly, and then I need the most profitable routes, and then I need the most unprofitable routes. The most unprofitable routes obviously got to go. And then I would then say, hey, we got to come up with a threshold. We need to make X amount of money on each flight. So let's look at these profitable routes. Does it get us to that number? No, that route got to go. And then I'll start selling some planes. Because again, this is a cash flow problem, y'all. I mean, Spirit may be posting millions of dollars or even billions of dollars in revenue. And I said this in an earlier video, all because that's what they're posting on that top line. That doesn't mean that's what's going to be in their bank account. To get to this point right here, you have a cash flow problem, a big one. And at this point, cutting staff, selling planes, the works. And I mean, all these airlines go through something similar to that. Southwest just went through something similar to that. They had a mass layoff and a restructuring deal. These airlines again they get hit hardest during economic downturns or economic uncertainty. The airline industry gets hit the hardest again because you fly because you got money left over, not because you're taking your rent money. You want to go to Bora Bora. So, that's Miss Spirit, y'all. That's Miss Spirit. We gonna lift up Miss Spirit. Hopefully they can get through this. And if they don't, they just don't. And again, this is the part of me that's just a black and white type of businessman. You entered into this market. This industry is very competitive. Margins are razor thin in some cases, meaning how much it costs versus how much you're actually bringing in that little space, that profit. There it's real thin. And again, you're in a capital intensive industry, and on top of that, you're in a unionized industry as well. And one thing that I learned while working in the airline industry is that if one airline does it, or if one airline has a pay increase, slowly but surely other airlines they're gonna have to follow suit if they want to retain their talent, which just adds more stress to the financial statement and the cash flow problem. So, but we're gonna keep them lifting up in prayer, y'all. Okay. Will I fly Spirit? Probably not, but I would definitely come on and consult though. Ain't no shame in my game, baby. I will shamelessly plug my services, baby. Okay. I will come and consult. Surely will. Give me some of that bottom of the barrel stock right now. Because I know by the time I get through consulting, baby, that stock price is going to rise, and then I can cash out, and then I can come out, and then I can do early retirement. Baby, you got to think long term. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Moving right along, y'all. Let me get right back to it. BET, baby, is not for sale. Okay, that is what the new owners basically said. And for those of you who haven't been paying attention or just unaware, excuse me, of what I'm talking about, get my screen back over here. Yeah, BET is not for sale. So BET is owned by Paramount Global, which was owned by a wealthy family by the last name of Redstone. The Redstone family owned Paramount. They recently just sold either a majority or all of it. I cannot remember the details, but they did sell Paramount to Skydance, and Skydance is owned and run by David Ellison, son of famous entrepreneur Larry Ellison, the guy who created Oracle. Okay, some of y'all may use that in your day jobs, Oracle software, stuff like that. But I find the reason why I want to talk about this because I find this interesting, and I'm gonna pigeon-toe this into why when we heard that Byron Allen or Tyler Perry or other prominent Black people trying to buy BET, where it just fell through. So one thing that the Redstone family wanted to do was they wanted to sell Paramount lock, stock, and barrel. And what I mean by that is that they wanted to sell everything. They didn't want to piecemeal it. They didn't want to sell it up in pieces. They said, here's Paramount. Here's all the assets of Paramount. Here's our price. Buy it, take it or leave it. And that offer is not attractive to a Tyler Perry who already has a movie studio. That's not attractive to him. It's not attractive to Byron Allen, who isn't really in the movie business. He owns TV stations and he's really in that linear media ad space. Well, not ad space, but linear media space. So like cable TV and so on and so forth. So again, that's not going to happen. But the new CEO basically said that basically just took it off the table. Basically did a preemptive move and saying to the Tyler Perrys and the Byron Allens of the world, yeah, you're not getting it. I will strip it bare before I sell it to you. And over, I think, matter of fact, last year I had, over the holidays, over like Christmas holiday, I read Sheila Johnson's, the co-founder of BET. She co-founded it with her ex-husband, Bob Johnson. I read her memoir, and in it, she talks about how she was kind of disappointed in the direction of BET and how it went. She really wanted BET to be a kind of a CNN or a PBS, if you will, for Black people. She wanted it to further the Black agenda in a positive way, right? Not like a in your face type of way, but like this is what's going on in the Black community. This is what the certain plight in the Black community, and here are some prominent Black people in the space to talk about it. But unfortunately, that's not how BET went, right? That's not how it is today. And so I would ask Mr. Ellison, what is your plan? Like you say, you want to keep it intact and all this other stuff. What is your plan then? You've already said that there's not going to be Soul Train Awards or the Hip Hop Awards. And in your press statement, which is in this article that I'm sharing right now, he states that the you know, uh, we just got to find a place for them. They're not gone. These award shows are not gone. We just got to find a place for them. The place is BET. Because where else are you going to put the Soul Train Awards? You're going to put them on CBS? That doesn't work. You got the Grammys there. The place for the Soul Train Awards, the place for the Hip Hop Awards is BET. But here's an unpopular opinion, Black people. Here is an unpopular opinion. We did this to ourselves. We did this to ourselves. And the original sin is when Bob Johnson sold BET. That to me was the original sin. Because here you are, created this wonderful channel that highlights literally Black entertainment, a television channel for us, by us, essentially, and you sold it to this big media house, and I think at the time it was Viacom, who really truly doesn't know how to market, how to, or they don't know what to do with it, in my opinion. And I feel like we're in the same, like, y'all remember when the BET Awards used to be must-see TV? Or the Soul Train Awards used to be must-see TV? Even the Hip Hop Awards used to be must-see TV. And what I found is that over the years, us Black people stopped paying attention to these award shows because we've started to realize that yes, we're getting NAACP awards, we're getting BET awards, we're getting Soul Train awards, but we're not getting the Grammys. We're not getting the Oscars. We're not getting the Emmys, the Tonys, right? We're not getting those awards. And so we started to focus on getting more representation in those spaces, which is good. But we turned our backs, it seemed like, on the platform that was made for us. The BET Awards haven't hit since 2008, maybe 2010. Like, I think that was the last time I really just sat down and said, ooh, let me go watch the BET Awards. I think it was in 2010. Otherwise, when I watch the BET Awards, I'm usually watching it to see who's getting honored that year. And I'm only watching that segment. Like when Anita Baker got honored, I only watched that segment. I didn't watch anything else. And I'm not saying I'm the spokesperson for Black people. What I am saying is that if little old me ain't paying attention to BET Awards, I know others ain't paying attention to the BET Awards. I think Skydance, in my opinion, just need to sell it. I think they need to just get rid of it. And it needs to go to like a Tyler Perry or a Byron Allen or some, I hate to say it needs to go to somebody Black, y'all. Because BET needs to be revamped. Right now, the only thing on BET is Tyler Perry shows, and there's a few original content on BET, but it's usually Tyler Perry shows, movies. At this point, you might as well call it the Tyler Perry Network. At this point. But moving right along. That was the business section, y'all. Okay, that was the business section. Now we're about to move on. Where's my paper, y'all? Where is my paper? Now we're about to move on down to some pop news. But before we do though, let me take a quick break, y'all. A quick break. I will be right back. Okay. Babe, I at least could have gave y'all some background music while I was away. I ain't gonna sit there and lie to y'all. Baby, it was a piece of cookie that I really wanted to eat. And I wanted to eat it before it got too late. Baby, when I ate that cookie, I ain't gonna sit there and lie to y'all. That cookie was good, okay? Whole Foods, baby. Whole Foods, okay? Baby, that cookie was filling my soul, okay? It really was. So we're about to move on over to the pop culture section of the show. And I want to talk about this right here. Okay. Um, Candy Bird sent a letter of support to Judge for longtime friend Todd Chrisley before pardon. Now, this was this was announced or this was said on Todd and Julie's um, podcast, Chrisley Confessions 2.0, where Candy was a recent, excuse me, where Candy was a recent guest on the show. And there they talk about, um, how Candy is a ride or die friend and that she sent the letter of support to the judge, before the whole pardon and before they were convicted and all of that. And I watched a bit of the Todd and Julie um Chrisley Confessions 2.0 interview with, Candy. And I gotta say, Yup, they was laying it on a little too thick for me. Not saying that it wasn't genuine, but it just seemed performative. It just seemed, yeah, this is really distracting me. I'm sorry, y'all. That was really distracting me. It just seemed performative. Todd up there saying, it doesn't matter what color you're all. Doesn't matter your political beliefs. I just treat people like good people. Because we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. And look, that's true. Okay, that's true. But if you and Candy such good friends, and I'm not denying that you guys aren't good friends, why didn't she make a cameo appearance on the show? Like, Todd had many, well, I ain't gonna say many, but he had a couple episodes where there was music involved. And baby, he went to the country right folks. He talked about his country singer friends. I did not know that Todd and Candy were friends until this whole pardon and I'm happy that he's home type thing came out. This was an undercover friendship, in my opinion, baby. An undercover friendship to me. But people were mad at Candy because of the support that she gave to Todd. And some people were saying, oh, Candy is an undercover MAGA lover. And I hate when we conflate two things. I hardly ever talk about politics on this show, and I do it for a reason. But in this instance, I'm not telling you one way. I'm not telling you to lean one way or the other. And I'm not even giving you my a political opinion. This is just a overall person-to-person opinion, if I'm being frank. I hate when we conflate two things together that doesn't need to be intermixed. Because why does Candy have to be an undercover MAGA lover? Because she's friends with Todd, and Todd is a MAGA lover. And to be quite frank with you, Todd said, I'm socially liberal. He said it on the podcast. I'm socially liberal, but fiscally conservative. Okay. But in this administration, I think there is conservatism on both socially and fiscally. And so it sounds like to me that the fiscal conservative was more important to you. And so you lean on the fiscal conservative. You say you're socially liberal because that's good to say. That shows that I'm not quote unquote one of them. Right? Because you on TV. So you can't appear and you can't show yourself as a diehard Marjorie Taylor Greene loving MAGA lover. But you also can't show yourself as an AOC Jasmine Crockett MAGA hater. So what you do is you try to find this fine line to walk and say, okay, I'm on TV. I know there are liberal people who watch me. Listen, I'm rich and I don't want to pay the high ass taxes. Okay, y'all can do what y'all want to do. Y'all can smoke what you want to smoke. You can marry who you want to marry. I don't care. I just don't want them high taxes. And since I don't want them high taxes, I'm gonna go over here and vote for the Trump man. Because Hillary gonna raise my taxes, Biden raised my taxes, and I know good and well Trump ain't gonna do this. I'm gonna go over here and support him. But I really do care about people and equality and all of that. Y'all get out of here with that. Get out of here with that. When watching the show again, somebody asked me, "Do you think Todd and Julie voted for Trump?" I said, "Hell yeah, they did." Like that's the mold right there. A wealthy white Southern family. That fits all the boxes for me. Yeah, that fits all the boxes for me. But I really didn't like the when that people were coming against Candy on this one. I think that we need to normalize having friends that are in different political parties, but that is a-okay. And again, I think the problem with that is that now since we are in this content creator space and everybody and anyone can um, create, they can, we as a consumer can tailor our watch experience. And so now we have a circle of friends or a circle around us where everybody's opinion is like mine. And when somebody's opinion that is not like mine or my group's, we're gonna go ahead and go against you. And we gotta rationalize it because that's we as humans, that's what we have to do. We have to rationalize things. And so the only rational idea for Candy, who is supposed to be so pro-black, to interview this white man who got off because his daughter was chumming to the administration, is because she's an undercover MAGA lover. Y'all, that does not make sense to me. I know you had to connect them dots, but them dots were going to Neverland, baby, because that does not make sense to me. What I see is a friend, a friend that hated to see another friend go to jail. Because I don't think that Candy, because she's smart too, I don't think that she actually spoke on whether or not he was guilty or whether or not they were guilty or innocent. I think the line was, and y'all can correct me in the comments, I'm happy to see my friend reunited with his family. And I'm shocked that they got jail time. Again, to me, that's not saying he's innocent or guilty. It's just I was shocked that they got that jail time. Anyway, moving right along, y'all. Moving right along, y'all. We gotta talk about this Sha'Carri Richardson stuff, y'all. Hold on real quick. We gotta talk about this Sha'Carri Richardson stuff. Let me go ahead and pull up my little picture, baby. Or Sha'Carri. I think that's how you say her name, Sha'Carri Richardson, baby. All right. So Shakari Richardson apologizes to Christian Coleman after domestic violence arrest. I'm so sorry. And for those who haven't been following this story or who is new to the story, basically these two individuals, Shakari and God, what's that boy's name? Christian, my babe, right there in front of my face. Were in the airport and they got into a verbal disagreement that turned physical. And by God, that is probably the worst place to have a verbal disagreement to turn physical is at an airport. Because baby, I'm just trying to take off my damn shoes, or I'm just trying to go through the TSA line, and now I gotta wait because they gotta carry your ass off because you up here trying to fight at the TSA pre-check line. Like, I just want to get to my flight, and you up here hindering me because you can't use your words, right? And this, look, I'm being a little facetious when I say that, but I will say that there has been some commentary that I didn't like on this subject, and there's been some commentary that I'm like, okay, I can see it, I can understand it. My commentary on this subject is simply this. We as a community, a Black community, need to work on breaking down stigmas and stereotypes about us. And when we do break down those stigmas and stereotypes, we don't need other Black people challenging our Black card or our Blackness. Papa, how'd you get all of that with this right here? And this is what I'm talking about. Both of these individuals have really beaten the odds. These are world-class athletes who have brand deals, who have, means, who have a lot to lose. They're public figures. People look up to them. And Shakari has already been in trouble before, if my memory serves me right. I hope, because sometimes, as my granny say, sometimes you gotta buy lessons. And sometimes those bought lessons can teach you better than somebody actually teaching you something. I like that she apologized. And she did it publicly. But in the same breath, I really, the true apology will come in the actions after this. Because honestly, to me, it's not just, and I haven't read the apology. Let me run that here real quick. Let me see before I say something. Okay, so the apology is basically saying that, and shout out to People Magazine for this, but it's basically saying, hey, I apologize. Christian, he came into my life, and due to my past trauma and pain, I was blind and blocked off to not only receive it but give it. She's been doing a lot of self-reflection, blase, blase, blase. Does she Blase, blase, blah. Okay. Um, um, so she didn't. I think who she need to apologize is also to her fans. You know, one thing, whether you like it or not, you are a role model. And I really do hope that this public incident that that is quite embarrassing. Let's just be frank. That is quite embarrassing. I hope that she learns from this in the words of Tyra Banks, but also will be more of an advocate to young people and saying, hey guys, especially black people, especially young black people who come from the same type of background that she does. Y'all look, you got to use your words. You got to learn how to use your words because I know coming from a rough and tough background and just the culture overall, right? The culture overall, you can't be doing all of this and not expect to get slapped, right? That's just the culture. But if you're gonna throw that, you better be willing to, as my mom said, if you're gonna throw a lick, you better be willing to take one as well. But we gotta get out of that type of mindset because when you, as my daddy said, when you get into that system, or when you get a certain story like this, how's this going to affect brand deals going forward, right? And I really truly hope that it doesn't. I hope that these brands like Nike and all of that don't look at her as this angry black woman. Because we see that in the corporate America. We see that in corporate America where black women can really just stand up for themselves and they're labeled angry or they're labeled, difficult. And they don't even throw hands on anybody. God forbid they throw hands on somebody. In this instance, you know what I'm saying? Like what the fallout. And I hope that's what she uses her platform going forward to really just talk up to the young people and say, hey y'all, look, I know emotions can get high. I know people can piss you off. I know you really want to follow Jesus, but by 8 o'clock in the morning, you really want to slap somebody. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know your man or your woman may be talking out the side of her neck or his neck and saying some real stupid stuff, and you really just want to just shake them. Just don't do it. Use your words. And if you can't use your words, walk away. Walk away. So we'll keep a tabs on this and see how this goes. I do I think the apology is sincere? I do. I do think it's sincere. However, I do feel that if this incident hadn't happened, would you really have dealt with your past trauma? Right? Because you mentioned that in the apology, due to your pain and past traumas, would have dealt with that if this incident wouldn't have happened? That is my question. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you would, Shakari. But now you're forced to. So, baby, get yourself in some therapy, going down to the church, You're gonna lay yourself out on that altar, let Deacon Abernathy pray over you, baby, put some oil on you, and you know what I'm saying, do a couple laps around the church house, and you know, black folks will forgive you. Will forgive you. Moving right along. Y'all, I'm being facetious, okay? Calm down. I'm being facetious. Moving right along. Baby, you know what? I'm actually, because it's getting kind of late, I'm actually going to end it with this, and I hate to do this. Lord, I hate to do this, but we're going to end it with this one. And we got to end it with we got to end it with Miss Gladys, baby. We got to end it with Miss Gladys. So, Gladys Knight's son reveals that the Empress of Soul, which is her nickname, is dealing with early stages of dementia. And y'all, when I tell you that that hurt me like it was my own auntie or my own grandmother, because you know Gladys is really an undercover diva. And what I mean by that is that, you know, you gotta think she came up there with Aretha, Patty, Dion, you know, those women. And we the public put out our attention on the three. Dion, because Dion was gonna make you pay attention to her. Love you, Miss Dion. Patti LaBelle and Aretha. Okay, you just say Aretha's name, and your head gonna go like this. Okay, what? Um, but Miss Gladys kind of just was an undercover diva. To me, out of those three women, out of those women that I just named, Gladys could probably still sing her songs in the original key, or maybe maybe she had to bring it down maybe a notch or two. But the other women came, no tea, no shade. Baby Patty gonna holler at you, baby. She gonna forget a note and just give you a high note. Somewhere, you know. I love me some Patti LaBelle. I really do. Don't Miss Pat, please don't come for me. I really do love you, Miss Patty. I really do. Um, I'm just being funny. But seriously though, according to this article, and really and truly, I heard about this actually yesterday while listening to Funky, and and Funky was talks about on his show when Miss Knight was on tour on the Four Legends or the Legends tour, the Queens tour, I forgot what it's called, but it's her, Patti LaBelle, Stephanie Mills, and who's that fourth one? Shaka Khan. That when Gladys set was over, it's like she didn't know that her set was over. Like the stage manager had to come out and kind of take her away. Kind of like if y'all remember when Joe Biden had that fundraiser with Obama, and Obama had to come on there and pat him on the back, be like, "Come on, it's time to go." Apparently, that's what happened. What happened with Miss Gladys, and y'all, that's just sad for real. That's really just sad. But the reason why this is making news is because apparently Gladys's husband, baby, is still making her work, baby. Gladys's husband is still making her get on that midnight train to Georgia, okay? Because apparently Miss Gladys can't retire. And so the son is saying, look, you ain't gonna have my mama up here singing all these songs. And her health ain't where it needs to be. Child, they say that Miss Gladys was up in the hotel just wandering, baby. She was trying to find a train to Georgia. She was trying to get on the midnight train to Georgia, baby. And my question to that is, okay, hold on. Where is the peoples? Where is the road manager? Where are the peoples? And then y'all don't stay in the same hotel? Y'all being you, Patty, Stephanie, Shaka, y'all don't stay in the same hotel? Not saying that they have to, but I would just think like these women seem like they're good friends. So why would you not want to stay in a hotel with all your friends? Dang, you ain't stay in the same damn room. Hell, you ain't even got to stay on the same damn floor. But I would just think that they would stay at a hotel. That's neither here nor there. The thing about it is that this is some sad news to hear from someone who, in my opinion, just minded their business, sung her songs, minded her business, served God. Like that, I think that's what hurts because I'm like, God, why? What Miss Gladys do? This is sad for real, y'all. So y'all keep Miss Gladys lifted up in prayer. And that's our show for tonight, y'all. I did have 2 other topics, but I think I'm gonna come back tomorrow. And do a show. It's gonna be a real short show. Cause Saturday, baby, Papa G is going live. Okay. Papa G is going live. Okay. And so matter of fact, I might just save them 2 topics for the Saturday. So I might even come back on Friday tomorrow. I might just go ahead and just save that for the Saturday show. So please be sure, okay, to catch Papa G live. Okay, come and have a good time. I got some special guests who's gonna help me talk about some things. It's gonna be a real good time, y'all. All right. Well, look, as my honey will say, that's all I got, y'all. I ain't got no more. Okay. And I'll holler at y'all in the next video, okay? Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell on the side so you can get notified because I promise you, it's going to bless you, okay? It's going to bless you, baby. And also tell a friend or two because that's going to bless you too. Until next time, I'll holler at y'all.